end, the stretch run of this season feel different, Brian, than it has in recent years?
Yeah, it feels like the 15th chapter of a 12-chapter book.
You host meets obviously throughout the year, but as a head coach, there's a lot that you have to do in addition, or at least kind of oversee when you're putting on a meet. What else goes into, though, hosting the championships over and against a normal duel or meet that you might have at the university?
This meet has to be put on top-notch, top level. We can't have it, well, it's okay, and it ran all right. It has to be a well-oiled machine, and it started back in October trying to get this all together. We have a lot of good people in our department helping do this, but there is a ton of work and ton of prep that goes into it, and it's a little different than a football or a basketball. The coach and staff very involved in putting together, and there's a lot of legwork for us.
And different from any of those other sports as well that last 3 hours. This is lasting 4 days, 5 days from Wednesday through Saturday. And so what are some of the maybe specifics that you need to accomplish in terms of the preparation and the execution of the event in general that maybe aren't there in some of the other events and even some of the other track and field meets throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, it's the biggest difference is having high-quality officials that can run each of our events, through all of our field events, be in charge of our start line, finish line, clerking for every event. Every athlete has to be clerked onto the field. Transportation of clothes taken off at start line, getting to finish line, just the number of people that we need to have this meet run smooth. We will probably be pushing with volunteers and officials 100. Wow. And so over a 4-day period to find that many that can come and fill. Some can work for a part day, some can work for 4 days, some can work 1 day. It's a logistic nightmare in a sense.
Having lived in Bozeman for 7 years, I covered a lot of the indoor meets, and there was always so many of the common volunteers at these things. How do you guys garner volunteers, officials? How do you find the people? Because it takes so many people to run one of these meets.
It's tough. It's networking. It's just a lot of people that I have made friends with, connections with over the years, and as well as some of the other staff members. When I first started working here and Tom Ronning was the head coach, we had a pretty good list of volunteer workers, and I think most of them have passed now. And so it's hard. It's old-timers that love the sport that you have, and come on, it's tough to get newcomers, younger people in, but we're getting some of those, and it's just a lot of work and a lot of talking, and we have some good people out in the community doing some great things and getting that word out for us.
Little PSA then here. How do people get involved if they want to get involved with this? Obviously, probably a little too late now for the championships this time, but you guys are always looking for volunteers.
They can contact, they can get an email me, get on gogriz.com, get on the directory on gogriz.com, send me an email that you want to help out, and I can get you in contact with the people that we need to. That's probably the easiest way. I would give my phone number out, but
you never know. You'll be getting called for the second date update, right?
Hey, I know how to work those things. I've listened to enough of them.
Well, Brian, it's interesting calling you the head coach because you are that, but also it's almost like a director position as well. Track and field, so many athletes involved. You do have to have the logistics of all these meets that you're going to and from. So talk to us just about that, because you have specific coaches on your coaching staff that are coaching each meet. You coach athletes as well, but also it's so much of a logistics position as well. How challenging is that, and what sort of things do you like about just that element of the job?
Well, when I was an assistant coach, I always thought, well, I'd like to be a head coach because I would do this and I would do this. And Tom Ronning, I learned a lot from him in a lot of areas of being a head coach. But there's areas that you can never be trained for. And now that I've been a head coach for 11 years, I wish that I was an assistant coach. It's just one of those things that, and I can't even explain. It's hard to put in words what consumes all my time and energy. And I talk to other head coaches, and they're like, same. I get it, and that's how we feel. And I do get to coach athletes, which is that's why I do this job, and that's what I love. But there are so many other aspects with administration and keeping things in order and trying to make decisions to keep everybody happy. And and budgeting and travel, and it almost seems like I can't get unburied from the pile of stuff that I have. So that's being a director or a head coach. That's the things you have to deal with, trying to please everyone and still get everything done behind the scenes that no one really has any clue goes on.
Brian Schwinn, subject of our ESPN Roundtable, the head track and field coach at the University of Montana. One thing that I think a lot of people just on the surface wouldn't even really realize is how many athletes there are on the track and field team. I mean, you're pushing like football numbers in terms
we
of
have
kids.
roughly, we started the season with 101. I think we gained a couple, and then we've lost a couple. We're right around 100.
I mean, that's a giant number, and we understand how many different events and things of that nature that there are. But that's a huge number of kids to not just to coach, but to recruit. You got to go find them. You got to do all that throughout the course of the year. How do you go about doing that with the breadth of events that there are, from the runs to the jumps to the throws and all that, and finding kids and getting them into the program?
It's having a good staff. Having a good staff that works hard out there working to find kids, and we work as a group, and you have to pay attention. For me, I think I've been fortunate enough to make enough connections over the years. I have people, hey, have you seen this kid? Have you looked at this kid? I've got a kid for you. That has been a tremendous help for me, having eyes out there informing me of, hey, you need to look at this kid. That's as big as anything, but we're constantly looking at performance lists. We're contacting kids, and it's a different world today. With the social media, we can get out there and get on social media a little bit, and we don't have to make as many phone calls because we can text and we can do all the other things, which does help a little bit. But it's daunting at times, and I am fortunate from the other sports. We don't have to make our way to a ton of track meets and watch kids. We can look at video, and we can look at marks. That tells us everything we need to know.
Right, because it's so objective, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I don't want you to get up and walk out of here, but you are losing the recruiting battle in your own home, because you got all the daughters that could do all this stuff, and they're playing basketball, which makes sense. Obviously, your wife, Shannon Schwinn, who's the head coach, now going into her 4th year with the Lady Grizz. What's that conversation like, though? Because
there isn't a conversation.
Your daughters are great track athletes,
I like
though.
the warmth of my bed and the softness of my pillows. So I figure the less that I cause trouble-wise in that area, I get to sleep in my bed, and it's all good.
That's good priorities that you've made for yourself there.
Well, on that note, on the recruiting note, I think that you mentioned just being able to look at times and stuff like that, but also the state of Montana has had great track for so
Incredible
long. I mean,
talent.
you're a native of Helena, and I thought this for years and years when I was watching and covering track meets for newspapers. I remember the 2000 and I guess it was 12 state meet in Butte, and it was 40-mile-per-hour winds, snowing sideways, and Daniel Aragon went out and smashed the 1,600 and 3,200-meter records, and I thought, if I was a college recruiter, I would give her a full ride right now, and then she ends up going to Notre Dame, and it's just, there's been so many great track athletes. How much does that make your job easier? But also, what do you think is the factors that contribute to so many great track athletes coming out of the state?
Well, I think if you look at all the sports at the University of Montana, I think people would be shocked at the number of records that are there in all the sports that are held by Montana kids. On my women's side, it's probably 80%. I think for Lady Grizz basketball, you're pushing 80% Montana kids for all the records. Football, look at how many walk-ons went into the NFL, Montana kids.
Right.
Montana is special in the sense, I think it's a smaller rural state, but kids are brought up right and taught what work ethic is. So when I look at Montana kids, typically I know I'm going to get a kid that's going to come in and work hard. And I like to call them diamonds in the rough. We have a lot of kids in Montana that are 2 and 3 sport athletes and don't put all their time into any specific sport. But once we get them and they get to put their time in, they've already learned the work ethic. I think that a lot of these kids are pretty athletic just from what they've grown up doing. And I love Montana kids, and I would take Montana kids all day long. And that's not to say anything against out-of-state kids, because I want them all. But Montana kids do hold a special part in my heart, and I think that it's just their work ethic that really helps them shine.
as Colton mentioned, you grew up in Montana. You were a decathlete at Montana State in your college days. You've been at the University of Montana for 21 years, I think, in total. Now 11 of those as the head coach. What's changed in track and field from the time that you were participating as an athlete to the present day?
Well, I think it's sport, period. Well, I'm going to get murdered for this.
Let's go. This is why we do this here, Brian. Give us the good stuff.
I truly think, and I know a lot of athletes from way back from a lot of schools, and I think the toughness and just learning how to do more with less, that's what it was back before. And I think the generation before us said the same thing. We have an athletic trainer that these kids see every day, and they go and get worked on, and they have all these things, and we have more coaches now than we ever had. When I look back, I don't know if I was in the training room more than 4 or 5 times my entire career. And when you're hurt, you're hurt. It hurts, it hurts. No athlete. Someone told me once, line the 50 top athletes up in the entire world, doesn't matter what sport, get the 50 best athletes in the world, line them up. Say, all right, if you're hurt, step forward. Not one of them would step forward. And you go through every one. What about that knee? What about that ankle? What about your shoulder? Like, oh, yeah. And I think our kids are strong, hardworking kids, and I think kids across the board are, but they're also used to having that constant work from Drew Babcock, our trainer, who is incredible and does a great job, and I'm so happy he's on our team. But at some time, I think, you get out there and it doesn't matter. You just have to compete. And I do think that that's a little different. And we go back to generation before us and you look at football, the hard-nosed, dirty, everything, it was gritty football. And it's not to say it's not. Now these athletes are so special in the fact that so much bigger than they ever were, so much faster than they ever were, so much more powerful. And maybe the body does take a bigger toll and we need more of that. But other than that, I think dealing with kids, I think you talk to any coach. Gino for UConn says you can't coach these kids the way you used to. You have to treat them a little differently. You have to, with the millennials, whatever.
You've dated yourself.
Yeah, but it is. But it is.
Totally.
And you have to treat them in a little different manner, and you have to get at them in a little different way. And that's a special thing of sports. I think that there's no book out there that tells you how to truly motivate an individual, how to get an individual to want to run through a brick wall for you. And if you can do that as a coach, you've done your job. And that's the hardest part, to know how to connect with each individual because they're all different. And a lot of great coaches out there are learning to adapt. There are great coaches out there that are not adapting. And it's a little different deal these days.
One of the most interesting parts about recruiting, especially in this state, is you've seen so much of an impact that the prestige of the football programs have had on athletes that maybe could be D1 college track athletes that then instead choose football. I remember when my brother was a great runner once upon a time, and he was in that 100-meter finals against Chris Wilson. And Chris Wilson, it's one of the most unforgettable sports moments of my life, watching Chris Wilson shatter the 100-meter record up in Kalispell at the Class AA meet. And then I remember I was shocked when Chris Wilson decided he was going to play football at first. He ended up coming back around, running track at Montana State. But there's a ton of other guys that have had that same opportunity and maybe chose football instead of track and field. Where do you stand just on the fact that football has taken a lot of the great athletes that could be running track? And is there ability? I mean, we talked about this with Craig Metler the other day. I think there should be some cross training there that's going on with college guys, maybe run an indoor track for you. Maybe get Gabe Solser to run some hurdles for you, so to speak. So where do you stand just on sort of the crossover between and the fact that football has risen to such a high height in Montana that it's maybe taken some of the best track athletes off the track?
Yeah, and I think that's anywhere you go. That's America. You're going to play, if you want to be an athlete that's performing and be in the limelight, you're going to play basketball, you're going to play football. And that's a no-brainer. I do think that a lot of the crossover is a benefit to every athlete. And the thing is, when you look at track, for a lot of football players, you can get faster by running track. Because how do you get fast? You run at maximum acceleration often. You learn better mechanics, and you can take football players and make them faster on the field. But the thing that I think needs to be looked at the greatest is when in your off season of football and you're doing another sport, you're competing. There is no substitution for competing. I think competing has been lost on society today. You don't see the playgrounds loaded with kids playing flag football, playing basketball, playing tag, playing everything at before school, at recess, at lunch, after school. All that's been replaced with club sports and organized. And it's just that going out on your own without instruction, that's where athleticism and sport really develops. And I think that's been taken away. And I think by being a multi-athlete, you can gain some of that back.
Ryan Schwan joining us. He's the head track and field coach at the University of Montana. Do you go in and sit and talk with Bobby Hauck at points and say, hey, well, what about this guy or what about that guy? Is that an open dialogue?
No, we've had conversations, and Bobby is coming in and with a completely different regimen and scheme than was there, and it takes a while for those athletes to get that, and there's not time on these kids right now to be able to do that. They need to take care of why they're here, and that's football. So they've got to get a great understanding of exactly everything they need to do in football. And once that happens, I think that opens it up for them to come out and have some time. But, yeah, I get it. And we've had some great football players come out and sprint for us and throw for us in the past, and there will be more of those.
ESPN Roundtable brought to you by Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, 18 draft beers, 30 big screen TVs. Go check out Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot. Brian, let's get into just this upcoming next couple weeks. One thing I want to ask you about, well, we've talked about leading up to the indoors, but I want to revisit it, is the fact that in track and field, the redshirt situation is a little bit different than in other sports. You're going to get at least 2 redshirts, indoor and outdoor season. If you're a distance runner, you even have a third one with cross country. A lot of times the red shirts are delayed. It's not necessarily like football where most of the time you're redshirting when you're a freshman, and even in basketball as well. But you had several girls, including Erica McLeod, champion multi-athlete, who used their red shirts late to kind of prepare for this penultimate moment of finishing the season and finishing their careers with the outdoor championships in Missoula. So just talk to us just about the strategy behind that, and what do you think of some of the girls, including Erica McLeod, that have used that red shirt late to maybe try to peak at the end of their careers here?
Yeah, and I think, it's the red shirt is always a conversation that is being addressed. A red shirt for us typically is going to happen if an injury occurs. We say, all right, well, this is a good time for a red shirt. Some kids, they want to get through in 4 years. We had a great handful of kids that are fifth-year seniors right now that we did redshirt last year knowing the Big Sky Conference championships were here. And I think that can be a huge advantage. It can be a disadvantage, because I think you get to a point where some people are just like, you know what, I'm done. I've been here 5 years. I can't wait to get on with everything else. And some kids are like, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And then you got all this stress and everything else. So the red shirt is tough. But we got Alex Mustard. We have Sterling Renault, Hannah Fowler, who is throwing incredibly well right now for us, and Eric McLeod, Morgan Sulcer. I'm probably missing a couple in there, but we have a good number of fifth-year seniors, and I'm just happy to have them around for another year. They're great assets to our program and great individuals that represent what we want. So for me, I just really enjoy having them around.
You mentioned those first 3, Alex Mustard, Sterling Renault, and Hannah Fowler, and all 3 of them Missoula natives that are going to be able to, I guess, not only cap their careers, but potentially extend their careers as well, because they're all in the running for maybe regional championship berths as well. But what do you hope the weekend is like for them, and how special of a moment is that for 3 Missoula kids to finish their at least regular season track and field careers with the championships in Missoula?
Yeah, the stars have to line up in a sense for that to happen for them, because originally we were supposed to have the Big Sky Conference championships last year. But for them to be in their hometown where they grew up and went to high school, and we were lucky enough that they wanted to stay here and go to the University of Montana, I think it's going to be a special moment for all of them. And I think they're all going to bring their best game and their best performances to next week's championships. I'm excited to watch it, and I think you're going to see some big things.
Erica McLeod has been one of the most decorated track athletes to ever come through the University of Montana. When you have somebody who's been as elite as she's been, really, I mean, for her whole career, what does that do for your program? Does that buoy it in a sense, or is there a sense of trying to maintain 100 kids, and you have obviously multiple stars, multiple guys, men and women that are really, really good, but when you have somebody who stands out like her, what does that do, or maybe what do you have to overcome for your program?
Well, I think having her in the program, certainly anytime we have a really good athlete, it shines light on our program, which we need. We want positive light, and having 100 kids, you rarely hear of anything negative with our kids out in the community or doing anything.
Right.
So I think that's a tribute to the people that we have on the team, the leaders we have that keep things rolling pretty well. But with an Erica, yeah, that absolutely helps our program, and it does put us on a national light, and we have several athletes that allow us to do that. One thing as a coach you have to be careful of, you got 100 children. You got to kind of treat them all as fairly as you can, and that's difficult at times. And no matter how good a job we do, there's always going to be some issues. And it's just how well do we handle issues? Do we handle it within? Things pretty good. And there's always going to be some jealousies out there too. And I think that's what we have to pay attention more to than anything. But, yeah, I can name 10 kids right now, and I'd take 10 of them, to fill my 100. We have some incredible kids.
The evolution of a multi-athlete is fascinating. And you look at some of the great ones that have come through University of Montana, come through the Big Sky. I mean, Jeff Moll at Montana State's from Red Lodge, Montana. You're from East Helena. Erica McLeod's from Butte. I think Austin Emery was from a small town in Idaho. Lindsey Hall from right here in Missoula, Montana. Some of these athletes just they have such raw skill when they come to college, but have almost certainly never even competed in a heptathlon, a pentathlon, a decathlon. In Erica McLeod's case, what sort of potential did you see in her back at Butte High School, and how has she been able to maximize that into becoming an all-time record holder in the history of the Big Sky Conference?
Well, her junior marks were pretty good. And I wouldn't say super stellar, but pretty good. And that was what interested us in her. And I had a lot of conversations with her uncle, Jimmy McLeod, about her. And we were fortunate enough to sign her early. And then she went off and just had an incredible senior year. Had she not signed early with us, she'd have been tough to get. So we were very fortunate. But I did say when she came in, I sat after, I think she was here for 2 weeks. Adam Bork, who was also, he's out of Big Fork, he's a two-time All-American decathlete, another one of those Montana kids. I said, Erica McLeod is going to break a lot of Lindsey Hall's records, and she's going to be as good or better than Lindsey Hall. And Adam looked at me and goes, I don't think so. And it's to the point now he's like, yeah, and I did see something in Erica early. And to be as good as Lindsey Hall is saying something. Lindsey Hall was absolutely phenomenal for us. And Erica McLeod has now put herself in that situation. It's because of her work ethic, how hard she works, not afraid of anything, can get through just about any kind of pain, just a talent that we're just fortunate to have. And we did see something there early.
Brian Schwan joining us. He's the head coach of the University of Montana track and field program. Big Sky Conference Championships a week from today, if you're listening on Wednesday, starting out there at Dornblazer Field in Missoula. And, Brian, we talked about this briefly earlier, but I want to ask you specifically, being married to Shannon, who's the head coach now of the women's basketball team at the University of Montana, on one hand, you guys are just both head coaches. You do your thing. You do your work. She does her work. But what's the dynamic like to have a spouse who's also not just now in the department, which she's been for a long time, but also a head coach, a fellow head coach, and a colleague of yours in a sense? It seems sort of interesting to me. Does that permeate? Do you recognize that as you're going about working and living your life?
It's normal life. I don't see it as anything different. When I'm out in public or anything, and I see people and they're like, who am I? I'm like, oh, hey, Brian Cate. Like, oh, I know you. They don't know Brian Schwinn. I know Brian Cate. But no, it's just normal life for us. I don't think it's anything different, odd, special in any way. We come home, we have dinner with our kids at our table, we talk about normal things, and go about our day. I think our days are busy and our schedules are very busy, and people say, how do you balance it? And it's just normal. I remember having to take care of 3 young kids in diapers while Shannon's on the road for 4 or 5 days every other week for 4 months of the year. Just becomes routine. So I think it's kind of unique in a sense, but it certainly isn't special or different. And it's something we've been doing for long enough. It's just normal life for us.
We joked earlier about your daughters playing basketball and all that, but they progressing from the time when they were in diapers have become phenomenal athletes. Maybe not that surprising given the genes at work, but when you watch them now doing what they're doing, both track at the high school level and basketball, both high school and college, what's it like for you as a dad to see these girls be such outstanding athletes as they are?
Oh, I love it, and it makes me happy and proud of them and everything. And sports was nothing that we ever pushed on our kids. We introduced them to a lot of different sports and activities and let them choose what they wanted to. And, I've never said, you got a half hour out on the court, you got an hour shooting or whatever. So if you want to be good, this is what you have to do. But you will clean up your room, you will clean up the house, you will be polite and talk to people and shake their hands. You will help defend those who can't defend themselves at school, and you won't associate yourself with bad people. Those things I will demand. But as far as when it comes to athletics, it's always been their choice. And if they tell me they want to be good at something, then I will push them a little bit. And Shannon and I both give them the things that you need to do to be good. But when I watch them, it's always love watching them. It's like, I have 100 kids in a sense on the track team. I love watching them get better. I love watching them grow and improve. And with my child, it's probably another level of special.
Brad, we'll get you out of here on this. A bunch of great athletes on your side of things to highlight. On the guy side, Jensen Lilquist, some of those Missoula natives, Matt Quist in the high jump. On the female side, obviously Erica McLeod, and on down the line, a bunch of other really competitive ladies. But what are some of the events to watch next week, both from Grizz perspective and just broadly, things that might open some people's eyes if they go to the meet?
I think the things you mentioned there, Jensen Lilquist, Hannah Filzer, I think all of our fifth-year seniors, Sterling Rowe, Alex Mustard, Eric McLeod. I think there's going to be some really good performances there. But I think when you come, you're going to find almost every event has something special going on with the conference that we have right now. We have some great long jumper, triple jumpers. The distance, especially on the men's side in this conference, is at the top of the nation. There's some very, very talented female distance runners. So I think if you have never seen track and field, come out and it's going to be a special treat. And if you do enjoy track and field, it's going to be really special for you.
Brian, thanks so much for being here. Great stuff.
Yeah, hey, thank you guys. I truly appreciate it. I think this is great for our program. I appreciate you guys taking the time and the interest and talking to us about the program. There
you go. Brian Schwein, the head track and field coach at the University of Montana. Appreciate him coming in, being part of the ESPN Roundtable. The ESPN Roundtable is presented by Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls, well, it's one of your few options on the south side of town, and an outstanding option at that, Coulter.
We're going to tease for next week's ESPN Roundtable as well. Erica McLeod, Hannah Filzer, Morgan Sulcer, and Carly Smidala, 4 Montana natives who are all standouts for the University of Montana. They'll be joining us as well. But Paradise Falls, 3621 Brooks Street, 18 draft beers, 30 HD TVs, brand new menu, open 7 a.m. to midnight. Go check them out. Like you said, south side of town, Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
We continue with the greatest show of Coulter's entire existence. More track and field, guests in studio. You ready for the Big Ten, people? Let's go. Next.
Alpine Touch is legendary around the state of Montana for providing delicious seasonings for every grilling occasion. Now, Alpine Touch offers so much more, from a savory new barbecue sauce to spicy pepper blends to tasty barbecue rubs. In addition to the classic, Alpine Touch has a variety of seasoning salts for whatever you need to spice up. Now that the holidays are over, Alpine Touch makes a perfect thank you gift to show your friends and relatives you love them. Alpine Touch, available at retail locations around Montana or online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice. Paradise.
Do you want $3 beers?
You're crazy!
Of course you do. Who doesn't want a $3 beer? For $3 microbrews and much more, go check out one of the best late happy hours in town at Paradise Falls, Sunday through Thursday from 9 until 11. Paradise Falls has $3 microbrews along with $6 apps, $2 domestics, and more. If you're in the mood for an evening cocktail or you just want to grab a beer, go to 3621 Brook Street, Sunday through Thursday, 9 until 11 to enjoy the best late happy hour at Paradise Falls.
I'm not crazy, I'm just thirsty.
This Mother's Day, treat the Montana mom in your life to the Montana Club's famous Mother's Day buffet. She'll be dazzled as she savors everything from slow-roasted prime rib and glazed ham to fresh berry crepes and lemon bars. If mom wants to sleep in, bring her in later for our artfully crafted Mother's Day dinner specials like brandy peppercorn filet and steak and Maine lobster tail. Mother's Day buffet 8 to 2, followed by Mother's Day dinner specials 3 to close. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
It happens. You're positive you put your bank card back in your wallet, but the next time you need it, it's missing. Avoid the panic and take control with the MyCard app and debit card from Farmers State Bank. Our app lets you control your debit card and securely turn it off right from your phone. Safe, secure, instant. MyCard is available only at Farmers State Bank. Ask about it at any of our 9 locations or learn more at farmersebank.com. Farmers State Bank, member FDIC.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel, and I'm here with Josh of the Advocates. Josh, do most injury accidents end up in court?
Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court through a fair negotiation with an insurance company. However, sometimes it is necessary. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get a fair settlement. Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court with a fair negotiation with the insurance company. However, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get the right settlement for you.
It's Josh at the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to having money, don't rely on luck. Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering it. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
City High School track meet begins Thursday of next week in the city of Missoula. And Sentinel has had an outstanding season in track and field. And we're joined by a couple representatives from Sentinel High School track and field. Here it is, Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hi, how are you? Across the state, well, good. And around the globe on YouTube. So easy now, just to be everywhere. Just shut everything else off. Tutel Nuanez, that's all you need. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway and Missoula Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. And with that, we welcome in the horizontal jumps coach from Sentinel High School, Kaylin Anderson, and a horizontal jumper from Sentinel High School, Ashley McElmary. It's part of our Coach's Corner, brought to us by Opportunity Bank. Guys, thanks so much for being here. How are you? Thanks for coming on down across town here.
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having us. Love the show.
Absolutely. Certainly happy to have you both. Ashley, let's start with you because, well, you are the one doing all the work. I mean, he's just watching. I mean, you know, it's pretty simple. But you are an outstanding horizontal jumper, long jumper, triple jumper, and athlete in general. When did you get into track and field? You're now going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, to the University of Nebraska, the Big Ten, to continue your track and field career there. But when you're like, you know what, I can jump far. Maybe I should try to do this.
Well, I did youth track as a kid, and my parents both did track when they were younger, and then my mom actually did collegiate track. But as I got into high school and freshman year started, when I kind of started to realize that maybe I could do this further, and so that's kind of when it started.
Tell us about balancing all the stuff that you do, because the last couple of years you've had so many events, so many different things. You know, at the state meet last year, you run around like crazy trying to get to everything. How do you stay mentally engaged? What's it like transitioning from one event to the next, and how do you keep yourself fresh both mentally and physically?
I think it's hardest in the beginning of the season because, I mean, you've been doing basketball or whatever, and so you're not really used to it, and it's kind of a hard transition running from one thing to the next. But as it goes on, especially at state, it's really nice because it kind of feels like another meet because you've been doing it earlier in the season. And so I think just having that like experience from the past meets and then just kind of just relaxing at state is how it's easiest.
Busy couple weeks for you guys last couple weeks. So take us back to the top 10 meet here in Missoula. You set, 3 records at that meet,
right?
Oh,
no, I only set
one, but won 3 events. So, first of all, what went into the triple jump? Did you know you hit a big one when you jumped the 39.4?
No, I had no idea. It was actually a really big shock. I was definitely not expecting to go 39 that day just because a few days earlier we had our Optimist meet, and I jumped pretty good at that. And so, I wasn't expecting like anything big, but it was exciting. I was happy about it, definitely.
Well, Coach, you mentioned that she hit one, and then you said, that's it, you're shutting it down. So just take us through what's it like managing an athlete that is so diverse but also has to keep so fresh.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. When you have athletes like her, you got Lauren Hagen, even on our guys' side, Elias DeWaters that does both jumps, and he's in multiple events as well. So yeah, it's just I communicate with Ashley every single day, going into practice or meets. I talk to her every day, see how she's feeling, how are the legs, how's the mind, how's everything going, and then going into meets, we usually do have a plan on how much she's going to jump for that meet, whether she wants to focus on hurdles for that meet or maybe focus a little more on the jumps. We have a great coaching staff. We all communicate really well between each other. So we know going into meets, this is what this person's doing, this is what this person's doing, and we try not to step on each other's toes in that sense, and we try to stick to that plan as closely as possible. Now, going into top 10, I told Ashley she was going to get 1 jump for long jump and 1 jump for triple jump. Well, she scratched all 3 of her long jumps because I wanted her to get a mark. On her first one, she scratches. All right, get another one, scratch. All right, get your third one, scratch. So I actually looked at her parents when she hit that 39.4 on her first jump and said, thank God. Thank goodness, because I didn't want her doing any more jumps that day. She was pretty cooked because she went right to the 300 hurdles after that. So,
well, scratch is good in golf, Ashley, so you can hold on to that, okay? When it comes, you talked about the communication, both inner coaches and also with the kid, with the athlete.
Yeah.
But it's such an odd thing, sort of track and field, because there are so many events. They're all scheduled, and that's when they're going to happen. So you sometimes have to make choices, and then also just a matter of wind, right? Of just being physically able to perform your best at moments. So what is the goal over the course of a season, though, when you have, say an athlete like Ashley who's very talented, going to be very good in just about anything that she's going to do out there, to try and progress through the season where she's maximizing what she's able to do both for the team and for herself?
Yeah. I think the overall goal coming into the season is we're giving the athletes the best opportunity to be successful, first and foremost, and keeping them healthy as well. So Coach Metler does a great job of this early in the season, getting all the coaches together, saying, hey, where's this athlete going to be at? She's doing 4 or 5 events. What do we want her to be best at? And where can we get the most points at state is kind of where it comes down to. And that's kind of where we've been the last few years, being extremely lucky to have the girls that we've had the last couple of years win a couple state championships. And yeah, it's our job as coaches to put, just like a football team, I coach football as well at Sentinel, and you got to put kids in the best position to be successful, and you got to do that on a track team as well if you want to chase those team titles.
Sentinel senior Ashley McLemary and horizontal jump coach Kaylin Anderson in studio with us. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and continue with them. The Opportunity Bank Coach's Corner right after this.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh from the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, if our listeners have been injured in an accident, how can you help?
We're here to help you after a car accident by negotiating with insurance companies, recovering lost wages if you have any, and even getting you into a rental car if you need one. Call us today for a free consultation, and we'll get started helping you right away.
If you need help, get a hold of the Advocates. Call Josh at 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate.
Florence Coffee strives to bring you the best quality in each and every drink, serving a variety of products with no artificial flavoring and no preservatives, like our delicious ice mochas to our all-natural creme brulee lattes. Stop by any of our Flowco locations throughout western Montana to see our lineup of all-natural flavors, and go to FlorenceCoffeeCo.com.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company. This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Some so-called sports bars, you spend so much time fighting to see the TV, you're better off just staying home. Others show the game, but a basket of stale rye chips is not exactly your idea of a good game grub. At the Desperado, you get front row seats to every single spring baseball and NASCAR event, plus all the spring NBA and NHL postseason action. And with juicy burgers, ice-cold brews, and the best wings in town, you'll leave the Desperado satisfied whether your team won or lost. The Desperado Sports Tavern, where the emphasis is sports, food, and good times. On South Russell, across from the Y.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Gary Clark twice? Gary Clark Jr. 2 times. Tommy Evans, let's go. Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway and Missoula Highway 83 in Sealy. Check them out online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show, well, what have you been doing? Why are you wasting your life elsewhere? Get on board. And also, we've got you covered. The podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app and on iTunes and on Spotify. Podcast is there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Listen anytime you want to. Tell me Nuanez podcast. We are continuing in studio with a couple of folks from down at Sentinel High School in Missoula, track and field folks. Ashley McElmurray, senior at Sentinel, headed to Nebraska to go jump in the Big Ten next year. And her horizontal jumps coach, Kaylin Anderson, from over there at Sentinel. Kaylin, how long have you been coaching?
This is my 6th season at Sentinel.
And
track and football.
When you have, you said earlier, you had like 170 kids out for track. I mean, it's unbelievable the numbers that are there. And I know 100 at the University of Montana. When somebody like Ashley comes through and she's going to the Big Ten, I mean, she's going to the absolute top of collegiate athletics and what she does. First of all, what's that like for you personally? There's a level of satisfaction, but also for the team in general. What is that like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, since Ashley's walked onto the scene as a freshman, she's just improved our program immensely. Just, she's not very big, but she carries a big presence. She's always got a smile on her face, and she's one of our team captains. Obviously, one of our leaders, point getter wise, at state the last couple of years. So, yeah, for me personally, it's made me a better coach because before that, I've never seen a girl go over 37 feet in the triple jump, and now we have 2 of them that are almost going 40. So that's made me be a better coach and get more knowledge on the jumps other than what I had. So for me personally, it's very rewarding to see a girl like her, go to the Big Ten, get recruited by all these big schools, and her and her family kind of let me be a part of that, and I was kind of helping them out through the recruiting process with Coach Metler. So that was super fun for us. Not very often you get a kid that's going that big time. So, yeah, it's been great for me personally, obviously, very proud. And for our program, there's a lot of kids that look up to her, and boys and girls. So I think she has really helped build our program, as well as Coach Metler as our head coach, bring it along. And like I said, we have a ton of kids out now, and kids expect to come out for track and field at Sentinel and compete and do well. So it's been great.
Actually, take us through it. I mean, what made Nebraska stand out? You had an opportunity maybe to go to the Pac-12, Colorado State, all over the place, but why Nebraska? Why'd you choose the Cornhuskers?
Honestly, going into it, I wasn't really thinking I would go there. It wasn't I just didn't really know about Nebraska. But after I went down there and I saw their facilities and everything that they had to offer, and also just the coaching staff and everything, I was like, I can't not go here. This place is amazing. I don't want to miss out on this. And just getting to go there, and especially getting to see their indoor facility where they have all these banners of all the Olympians that went to Nebraska, it was kind of the moment where I just felt so inspired, and I was like, okay, if I go here, I just want to get so much better and just really be competitive in this conference. And so that was really exciting for me.
That's going to be an interesting part for you because you play soccer, basketball, right? So you're going to get to focus on track for the first time. Are you nervous at all to compete in the Big Ten? And what do you look forward to about being able to compete in a sport year-round?
Yeah, obviously a little bit nervous just because the competition is going to be really, really good. But I'm really excited because I want to train with like a bunch of these girls that are, have been doing it year-round or that are really committed to track just like me. So it'll be really cool just to be around that environment and, just fully commit to it.
I'll tell you what, Ashley and Kaylin, thank you so much for coming down here. We appreciate it. Again, the city meet in the city of Missoula is next week, then divisionals, and then state. So it's going to be a downhill run, as it were, to the end of this thing. Best of luck to you both, and thanks again for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Boys and girls, fun Thursday show. This is the greatest show of your whole life. I mean, we did like a straight hour of track and field. How happy are you?
We're going to do a week of it next week when you're gone.
That's right. Tomorrow's my last show for a little while. Going to take a little jaunt out of town. So, come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, Coulter and I going to let you in. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but we have secured for you a whitewater rafting trip down through the Alberton Gorge. So tune in, and we'll tell you all about it tomorrow and get you signed up for that starting in next week while I'm out. Tonight, NBA playoffs continue. NHL also rocking and rolling. Might have something to talk about on a Friday. I don't know. There might be something there for us. Looking forward to it. Until then, Coulter, look at you, glowing with joy. We'll see you tomorrow. ESPN Radio, SWX Montana. You too. How about that? See you then.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth,